All right, welcome to My Line of Work. Here we dive deep into the world of work, what people do, why they do it, and how they got there, from dream jobs to unexpected paths. Every story matters and every career has a story worth sharing. Today, our special guest is Dan Camero. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah.
So we have a special episode today. We're actually going to be talking about retirement. So you're retired. How long have you been retired?
Well, I guess that means you don't go to work anywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's probably only been maybe 8 years.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool. So what did you retire from?
Okay. The most recent job I had was when I came to San Antonio
Mm-hmm.
in 2004. I worked for my nephew, Jerome Camero, and I did a lot of construction buildings for him
Okay.
as I was uh, carpenter and mason man, all kinds of different jobs.
Yeah.
So he wanted to build a funeral home where he's at now.
Yeah.
So he called me, and I was in Minnesota at the time,
Okay.
and he said, "So I want you to come down and build for me."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, okay." And I sold my house that we had in Minnesota, and we brought everything down here. And so then I started working for him in 2004, 2005.
Okay.
And so we built a funeral home.
Nice.
And then we did a lot of remodeling for him in different buildings, and then built a big storage shed for him where he put all the tractors and different machinery in there.
Yeah.
And so that was 2005. And so 2000, after I finished building all of that, then I went into the funeral business with him, in the sense that
Okay.
I was in charge of cremations.
Oh,
So
wow.
we have a funeral parlor home, and we have a cemetery, and then we have a crematory,
Okay.
and then we have a monument company that we do
Nice.
all our own monuments for
Yeah.
the headstones and that kind of
Okay.
stuff for
Yeah.
the people. So after I got into that, and then I was running the crematory.
Mm-hmm.
I was the main person that did all the cremations.
Really?
And so, yeah. And so then after that, then we'd work during the whole year, and then during like the first church conferences and other programs that we would attend,
Mm-hmm.
then we would take off, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and then we'd have someone else fill in for me.
Okay.
So on one of these times, then we had, I think I stayed a little longer than what I was going to, but
Mm-hmm.
so then they had hired a different operator. So then when I got back, then they just kind of like retired me from my position.
Oh, okay.
So then I was kind of retired from everyday thing. But then I also just worked on call. So a lot of times if the equipment would go down, motors would go down or something, then they'd call me in, and I'd repair them, take them off, and have them fixed. And then I did also a lot of other maintenance stuff around.
Yeah.
But I wasn't on the clock in the sense that I had to punch in and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I was just on call.
Yeah.
So that went on for at least, like I mentioned, it's probably been about 8 years now, maybe even 10, that they finally gave me my kind of not retirement papers, but they just kind of phased me out.
Yeah.
I still live on the property,
Oh, okay.
and I'm still involved with some of the stuff that goes on, but not on an everyday
Okay.
basis.
Yeah.
And so then I have my freedom. I can do whatever I want, and so I do odd jobs here and there, and then I work on my vehicles and my kids, their vehicles. When they break down, then they bring it over, and so then I fix on that. So I'm not really, in a sense, I don't think that I'm retired, but
Yeah.
from every day punching the clock and stuff, and I don't get paid for anything that I do now because then I'm on my own.
Yeah.
So that's kind of retirement is kind of that. It's not a real it's not a real thing for me as far as that. I get up in the morning and I know that I got stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I always, get up and then I get myself together, have my breakfast or whatever, and then I head out. And then I tell my wife, okay, I'll be out in the pole barn over here, or I'll be down here in the South 40 or whatever, So so then she always knows where I'm at.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like I guess my kind of retirement thing, because it's not like, well, I still do whatever I want to do, but I don't get paid for it.
Yeah. Well, that's how I kind of see retirement is you don't have to work. You don't have to go make money.
Right.
It's you get up and you get to choose what your day looks like, right?
Absolutely.
Have you always done the carpentry thing, the building thing?
Yeah, over the years, way back as far back as I can remember, I worked with my brothers, my older brothers, and then I worked with my brother-in-law, and we did a lot of garage building, cement slabs, and framing buildings, and roofing, and plumbing, and all that stuff that goes with it.
Yeah.
So I can build you a house from the ground up all the way to the top,
Wow.
and sheetrock it and paint it and whatever it needs, so I can do all that.
Yeah.
1968, I believe, 69.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from Midwest Bible College with my ministerial license.
Okay.
So I was in the ministry for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
So I pastored, our first church was in Alfred, North Dakota.
Okay.
And then we went to San Jose, California.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Bloomington, California. And then we went to Ontario, California. And then I came back to North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to St. Paul, Minnesota. And that was our last church that we pastored.
Okay.
And then from there, then we moved here to Texas. And then I retired from kind of like the ministry, full-time ministry.
Yeah.
After that. And so I was always still licensed and everything. And I got the 50-year pin that I have for 50 years in the ministerial service, So in between all of that is then I would go back on the carpenter stuff.
Okay.
So a lot of times, if I when we were in California, I was on at the Ontario church, I was on a part-time basis. So because the church was a small church, and so then I worked full-time and then pastored the church on the side.
Okay.
And so then I went back to the carpentry business. I was on a framing crew. Mm-hmm. And so we'd go frame, during the week, and then on the weekends, and I was in the church, pastoring the church. So that's how kind of like I always would fall back on that, So whatever they needed, if they needed tile laid, I'd lay a tile. If they needed plumbing, I'd do that. Whatever it was that they needed, then I was their man.
Yeah.
So in between all of the other things, then I would always go back to the construction business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we were at, and and I've done that over my whole life.
Yeah.
So, but now as I get a little older, it's a little tougher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said you're working on a truck.
Yeah.
Right? That's cool.
Yeah, I'm working on my old pickup, trying to get ready to sell it.
Is it running?
No,
Okay.
There's no motor in it. I've got a motor engine for it, but it's I have to rebuild that motor, and so I just want to sell it. And then if the people that buy it want that motor, it's a carbureted motor.
Mm-hmm.
It's no computer stuff. It's all it's all 88, 87
okay.
Chevy motor. So it's if they would want it, I'd sell along that with it,
Yeah.
and transmission and everything to go, with it. So,
Yeah.
but I just want to put it together so that I get everything all together, and then take some pictures and
Yeah.
then see if we can get a buyer for
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
Is that so you're working on the truck, you work at the funeral, kind of helping here and there.
Yeah.
So what is your day? What does your day, week, month look like now that you're retired?
Yeah, every day, I still get up, at 5:30, 6 o'clock. It
Yeah.
seems like the
It's like a natural cycle or
I always
rhythm.
wake up. I always wake up early, and so then I get up. I do my reading in the morning, and
Yeah.
then I have my breakfast, and then I have my coffee and whatever I ask, and then I kind of figure out what I want to do today, and so then I get myself together, dressed, and then I go out, and I usually try to do 6 hours out there on the job that I'm doing.
Okay.
And then I'll come in for lunch sometimes, and sometimes not. Sometimes I'll go all the way through to the supper time. Then I'll quit,
Yeah.
put all my stuff away, and then I'll come in and quit. And so, pretty much, that's kind of my everyday. And then sometimes, when it's not the weather is bad, then I've got a lot of instruments that I've been working on. And so then I try to practice one of those other instruments that I do. So I try to get some time in on those, so I keep myself a little bit sharp on those other instruments.
Yeah.
So that's kind of pretty much my day, and then of course then we go to church on Sabbath, and then we usually don't get home till like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So we always have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of pretty much it. And then sometimes I'll get called to do, like this last week, I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan
Oh, nice.
for a funeral that a good friend of mine passed away. So the family called me and asked me if I would be so kind and do the service. I said, absolutely. So we flew over there, and then we just got back on Sunday night.
Oh, okay.
And then and then this weekend they asked if I would bring the message. So I said, of course. And so then I got to bring some for this Saturday.
That's good.
So I'm always busy. There's always something, I just can't lay around, and like some guys, they just lay around, but I can't. I got to get out and do stuff.
I think that's
much
good.
stuff to do.
Yeah. And then do you exercise at all? Walk, lift weights?
Yes, I do. I do.
What does that look like?
I do in between all of that. Whenever I get I just had a new shoulder put in my right shoulder in January, and so January and February we kind of like had it in a sling, and so then after that, then they took the sling off, and so I'm doing therapy on it, and so then I've been doing a little the barbell, lightweight, 10 pounds. And so then I try to do that. And then I got a barbell, a big barbell that I try to lift with both hands, and I lift that. And so I try to do that every other day. Yeah. So that I let the body, and then in between it, I'm still working. So
yeah.
So we get hands on the wrenches and the screw guns and stuff for the working with the vehicles, and then in between, then I do the little weight lifting, and hopefully that the shoulder's getting better. It still feels a little tight, but it's coming right along. Yeah. And I just saw my surgeon here just a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Well, we're good." He said, "We won't see you now for another year." Nice. I said, "Okay." He says, "So just take it easy. If it starts to hurt, don't push it." Yeah. So I have to, kind of know my limitations a little bit. Yeah. But every day is, I just thank God every day I have that strength, and I'm able to have my wits about me. Yeah. To do what I want to do. Yeah. I've seen a lot of guys that younger, and it seems like their mind is gone, their strength is gone, and when they retire, it seems like they just if they just sit around, and that's the worst thing, I guess. Yeah. that they can do, because then
Yeah.
their body's not working, their mind's not working, and so they just like, you know, just kind of like fade away, I guess, you know.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Nah.
Yeah.
Well, I was surprised to learn how old you were. And then I like what you told me. You said, what would you say? If I knew I would have lived this long, I would have taken better care of myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and no, I think you look great. You look great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think movement is important at any age. At any
Absolutely,
age,
yeah.
you know, it just you do what you can as far as weights and movement. Go ahead.
And even like the kids, the children, you know, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, you see a lot of families and the kids are all a little chunky.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's not like years ago when kids were young, you know,
Yeah.
they was always outside, you know, eating dirt or chasing or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But today, the kids are all in the house just on their phones.
Mhm.
And so they don't get any exercise.
Yeah.
They don't get to meet, you know, have any kind of relationship with neighbor kids or any.
Yeah.
Seemed like, and I said, wow, that's a bad deal for the because then they're not getting, you know, that their life kind of like they just skip, you know, several years of their life because all they do is watch on that phone and all the other stuff they see on that, you know.
Yeah.
I said, boy, somehow if they would get back into going out and doing stuff, you know, it'd be a lot better life for them. But
Yeah, it's good. That's one of the reasons we picked this house. So I grew up on a cul-de-sac like this, and we were always playing kickball. We were always outside basketball.
yeah,
And so my kids, same thing, right? Like we'll tell them, hey, go outside.
yeah.
And our neighbor in the back has a pool. Our neighbors a couple of streets down have a trampoline.
Oh, wow.
And then we have a basketball court. And
Yeah.
so in the summer, especially, they're
Wow,
just,
that's great.
they swim and then they jump and then they basketball and they just, they're out all day. It's
Oh,
great.
that's great. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we're big on movement, exercise, play. Yeah, we're big on all that.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, for your whenever you were working, pastoring, carpentry, did you do any investing? Or how did you get to thinking of, well, one day I'm not going to be able to work anymore?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Yeah. I was kind of real bad on that. I never did. I did save a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And so now that we're way older, we've looked at, we've tried to, you know, get as far as we can debt free.
Okay.
So we try not to spend as much, you know.
Yeah.
But and because I moved so many different times in my life, in our life, from church to church and different places, we never had a like a one home.
Yeah.
Like you'd say, well, this is our home place. And I know a lot of guys, you know, that they live in one area and they buy a house and then they're there for their whole life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they pay that off and then they build up equity and they do all that stuff. We never did that because, you know, we would at one place 4 or 5 years and then we'd move to another place and we'd start over again.
Yeah.
And then another 3 or 4 years and we move. And so we never built equity, like in a sense that you know, we can have, and we put that all towards a retirement thing.
Yeah.
And never had that, and it was different in our life, and so that when I married my wife, they were poorer than we were. You know, our families as families. So we started out kind of like pretty much with nothing. You know. Yeah. But over the years, we just try to we live like from paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And month to month. And so, you know, we were bad on that part. We didn't do financial planning and that. So now that year, we call it, you know, when people think, well, the golden years, the golden age where you've got everything paid for and your house is paid for and everything is all, well, we never did have any of that. So we were still, you know, have some debt. And so we're still working on that, paying that off and that, So I don't have like a $50,000 put away in a retirement fund, so it was totally different for us.
Okay.
But I would suggest, for folks that are going to retire, that you need to start planning, like early in your marriage, start planning for a future, not just for the next year, but down the road, 30, 40 years down the road, which we didn't do. So, but we've been fortunate in that we haven't had, a lot of debt. Where that we just are kind of drowning in debt now. We don't have that. We've always been. My wife been always very careful with the spending and stuff like that. So we try to always be very frugal. In our lifestyle, and so that's. But we don't have like money on hand. We don't have like thousands of dollars on hand, because. But we don't. We have enough money to, to live comfortably as we do now.
That's good.
Yeah.
My wife and I are doing a financial class at church, and that's one of the topics. A lot of the couples that come are young. And that's one of the topics that we cover is investing, retirement. And I think it's important. I think it's I was introduced to finances pretty young. And so I thought about that pretty young. And that's so, great. No, it's good to hear from, someone that's retired to kind of echo that.
The same thing, and I've heard people, different ones, financial guys and stuff, say they should always pay yourself. A little bit of your income, you should pay yourself $100 or $50 or whatever it is, $200, however much you can allow, and then you put that into your savings, and so you'll be surprised on how soon that will accumulate. And so that's always a good idea, because if you don't, you just spend stuff on junk, and so you got junk, and so that's probably a good, like you're saying, a good point to bring across to the young couples, that they need to pay themselves, not half their check or nothing, but just a little bit every month or every week, so that
consistency is,
so that builds up.
Dave Ramsey wrote a book called Everyday Millionaires. And he said I think they interviewed like 10,000 millionaires.
Wow.
And when it came to investing, the most important part, it wasn't about where you invested or how much you invested. It was consistency. It was that you invested month after month after month. And some were rich because of real estate, some because of index funds, and so there are a lot of different types of investments, but what they found was consistency, right? Because some people are like, oh, well, there's fees and the market, and it's like, no, just if you're consistent, you're gonna come out ahead.
I think that's true. That's the name of the game, is consistency. That's probably the main word.
Do you mind me telling people how old you are? Or do you want to tell them?
No. I thank God for my age.
So what year were you born? And
I was born in 1943.
Wow, that's good.
In Saginaw, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm a Michigander.
Yeah.
And I just turned, March the 27th, I turned 82.
Oh, so my wife's birthday is the 28th.
Well, that's good. We have something in common.
No, that's so good. So you worked up until you're 70-ish, 72-ish?
Yeah, kind of probably,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Awesome. On a regular basis, like getting paid for stuff. But after that, then retired in a sense, like the full-time job, but then always had other stuff to do.
Yeah. That's what I see myself doing. I have a lot of different interests. I
Yeah.
see myself by the time I get to a certain age and retire, I'm probably still going to be dabbling in
Yeah.
the things that I like. I like to teach. And so whether it's music or sports or finances, like I'll probably keep doing that. What's your main instrument? You mentioned music.
Well, I guess the guitar. I started with the guitar
Okay.
years ago, so that's kind of always been my
Oh,
go-to instrument.
yeah.
And then after in junior high, probably I started maybe a year before junior high. I started the saxophone.
Oh, really?
So that's my other probably second
Mhm.
instrument.
Do you have a
Is
saxophone?
I got two of them.
Really?
No, three of them.
Oh, nice.
And so I play the saxophone. I played that in junior high and I played it in high school.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and then we were in the concert band and the marching band
Okay.
and all that stuff. So.
You ever play saxophone at church?
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, all the time, yeah. Yeah,
That's cool.
for like when we at our church we have like we call a praise Sabbath. So
Mhm.
all we do is for the whole hour and a half, we just do music.
Oh, okay.
And so we have all kinds of specials and
Mhm.
all kinds of songs. And so I play my saxophone usually on those weekends.
That's cool.
And the other times, then like during the regular service, and I play bass guitar.
Oh, okay.
So I play the bass along, and then I also play mandolin. I like the mandolin a lot.
Oh, nice.
And so a lot of times I'll just play the mandolin instead of bass. I'll play the mandolin along. And
Wow. So how many? So you play saxophone, guitar, bass, mandolin. What else?
I have a flute, I have a clarinet,
Okay.
and I have a banjo. I play banjo, so I really like the banjo.
Wow.
And then I have a baby grand piano,
Uh-huh.
which I bought from the old church at
Heart of Worship.
Heart of Worship.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
the one that
interesting.
used to belong to
Brother, sister, shirt.
Shirts, yeah, Sister Shirts, yeah.
Yeah.
So I bought that,
Oh, okay. I
and
didn't know
then
that.
when they were going to get rid of it, and
Yeah.
so I have that. I have that baby grand there in my house,
Yeah.
and then I have I think 3 violins,
Wow.
and two mandolins, and
Yeah.
2 banjos, 3 saxophones, 2 trumpets, flute,
Wow.
clarinet,
Yeah.
harmonicas, whatever you got.
Yeah. I should have asked, what instrument do you not play?
And I like to play them all, and
Yeah.
it seems like you can't time to work
Yeah.
on all of them, you know. So,
Yeah.
but if something's coming up and you need some instrument, then I'll work on that and try and get something going so I could help out. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I got an accordion, a button accordion too.
Really?
Tex-Mex stuff.
Yeah.
So I do
cool.
Tex-Mex stuff too,
Yeah.
with my button accordion. Yeah. So,
Nice. Does your wife play any instruments? Or
No,
just-
she
I know
never-
she sings.
She never did. Yeah, she just sings. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She always said, "I can't, walk and chew gum at the same time." So,
Yeah.
so she just sings real nice, sings real good. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we've sang together since we've been married.
Yeah.
Right away when we started, and
That's good.
we've been singing together the whole time.
Yeah.
So
you-
that's also part of what I do. Like when I have, like I said, it's raining and stuff, I can't get outside. Well, then I'll do stuff inside.
Yeah.
A lot of instruments that I got. So
Okay.
there's not enough days because there's so many
Yeah.
instruments.
Yeah. And how many kids do you have?
We have 4.
4. Okay.
Leticia Molinar's our oldest, and then we have Aaron Camero lives in Canada,
Okay.
and then Jimmy and John live in around Owasso, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So, and Jimmy's a mason bricklayer.
Mhm.
He's a journeyman cement guy.
Okay.
And then John is the director of the Springville Christian School
Mhm.
in Owasso.
Mhm.
So they're always busy. And then Aaron, he has his own business up there in Canada. He lives in Alberta, Canada, and he has a degree in we do the art and drawings and stuff. Boy,
Like architecture
kind of something like
or
that, yeah. But then it's more like drawing signs, make up signs for you, and all that kind of stuff.
okay.
Graphic art,
Graphic design.
yeah,
Okay.
graphic design, yeah.
Oh, nice.
So he has his own business on that. And he does a lot of installs, and so he's got a boom truck, and
Oh,
he's
very
got all kinds of
cool.
equipment.
Yeah.
And he's also, he's a multifaceted musician too.
Yeah,
He plays all kinds of instruments too.
Oh,
Really
nice.
good. He's really good too.
Yeah.
So we're thankful for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what does that look like? Being retired, kids, grandkids, family. How involved are you
We try to be as much as we can. We try to be involved as much as we can.
Mhm.
In this area right now, we have our only child that lives in our area is our daughter,
Mhm.
and then her family. She's got the 3 boys and a daughter,
Mhm.
and then then 2 boys have the grandkids, and so we have great grandkids now.
Oh, wow.
And the rest of the family lives over in Michigan, and then our son in Canada. So we try to get to see everybody at least once a year.
Okay.
And so we travel to Canada, and then we'll come by and stay in Michigan a while and visit with them. And so, and then of course the ones here, we see them every weekend.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we try to be involved as much as possible, and as much always send the birthday cards and a little cash in there,
There you
so
go.
they always like to hear that.
Yeah.
Like to hear from grandma and grandpa,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you have 4 kids. Do you know how many grandkids you have?
And we have 14.
14.
And then two great
2 great grandkids.
grandchildren, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we have 14 grandkids and then 2 other great grand. So
That's awesome. Very cool. Did you ever think you would be a great grandpa?
no, I knew I was always great, but now I'm great.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a nickname? A grandpa nickname?
No,
They just call you grandpa?
yeah. Well,
Okay.
the kids call me Grandpa D.
Okay.
Grandpa D,
Yeah.
My kids are D, Grandpa D or D. But
Yeah.
I never had I know like some guys they have a name for themselves.
Yeah.
I never
Sometimes
did.
sometimes the grandkids will come up with a, like they can't say. So like my nephew couldn't say abuelita,
Yeah.
and so my mom's tita.
Yeah.
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 My dad's papu,
Yeah.
and so they just kind of
Yeah.
it just evolves from there. Does your wife have a nickname, or she's same?
No.
Grandma.
Yeah, just grandma. Yeah, just grandma and grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah.
No nicknames. No.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so what other than the investing, what other things do I need to think about, or all of us, when it comes to retirement? What things come to mind? If you could go back and talk to your 40-year-old self.
Yeah. I tried to. I think over the years we didn't set a good enough example for our kids on the money thing,
Okay.
and so that's. And I remember my dad too, when I'm sure he didn't have any kind of but that was way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any kind of retirement stuff at all, So just work from weekend to weekend, and they always sometimes, like the Bible says, he would borrow from Paul to pay Peter,
Oh yeah.
kind of like that,
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember he always would borrow from different people, and then that kind of like I grew up with that, and so. But he always provided for us. Though it's not we were always in the hole or nothing. My mom always we always had plenty of food and plenty of tortillas, and so as I got older and then I got married, I didn't teach my kids enough to the value of the savings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I regret that now, because then
Yeah.
I see my kids kind of want to flounder a little bit too,
Mm-hmm.
because then they never had that mentality when they were growing up, and so now that's hurts them, you know. And so I try to help them too. And I know if I have extra money, or if I make extra some here and there, then I try to help the kids, you know, help them over the rough spots. So that, I think, if you like in your financial programs, that's something you need to push, you know, for the next generations down, because then they need to see that firsthand in their families, in your family. So then as they get older, then they say, well, Dad always used to do this. This is what Dad always did.
Yeah.
Or this is what Mom always did, how they saved that money. And so, you know, they get that. And so then they'll be able to be a little bit better off, you know.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of times back in growing up, my dad, if he didn't have enough money, well, we couldn't buy it, right? He couldn't buy it if he didn't have money. But now, because of the credit card thing, well, you don't have to have money, you know.
Yeah.
I remember one time one of our nephews that was with us, and he said something about we were going to go out and do stuff. And then I said, well, man, we don't have any money. Oh, he said, you got that plastic, you got that card. and so, you know, kids already knew that, you know, way back then. They already knew that if you got a plastic credit card, well, hey, you don't have to have money, just give them that card. And so that becomes a problem if you do with that later on in life. You know, that credit card thing, man, that before you even know it, then you're way up there and you owe thousands. You know, and so then and then they don't show no mercy to people that you can't say, well, I had this, I got sick, I had this, and say, well, that's your problem. And you use that card, you got to pay it now. So but that's something that you know, we kind of regret that we didn't set a better example. Not that the kids are all bad now. I mean, you know, but that they would be better off if they had. If I would have, you know, trained them a little bit better in their finances, you know.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, we give our kids allowance.
Yeah.
And just so that they can learn to manage money. And then we tell them, you know, give, save, spend. That's the order. Yeah. Before you do anything, you got to set some aside to give. And then before you spend anything, you got to save some. And then you're going to spend most of your money, but, you know, give, save, spend. That's the order that we're teaching our kids.
And we've always, because my dad was, when I grew up, my dad was already the minister of our church, you know, way back in the day. And so always preached tithing. Yeah. And so I believe in that, because I was taught that. And so I've always believed that tithing, you know, is the main thing. And I think that, you know, overall, because of that, that we still, you know, we're not in the hole like others, you know, but I believe in tithing. And so whatever little bit I get, you know, I tithe. And I think that God will bless the people that do that, because then they're being obedient, you know. And so that's one thing that the churches need to also be teaching, even if the churches don't, that individual families that are, you know, really believe, they need to teach the kids, you know, that if you make $1, you know, you got to tithe.
Yeah. It's important to be generous.
Absolutely.
It's important to share. Like they say, sharing is caring.
Absolutely.
And then the debt thing. Debt has become a product, right? Like you can buy a cup, you can buy a table. Like companies have figured out that I can sell you debt, right? Like I can lend you money and I will make money off lending you money. Yeah. And so, you can get
absolutely
every
true.
store now has a credit card. HEB has a credit card. Yeah. Costco has a credit card. Apple, anywhere you go, you can borrow money. You can buy their product using their money, and then you pay off the
Yeah.
product plus interest. It's
Yeah.
it's incredible. So no, it's good that you guys have managed that side of it. Because now I mean you can go into all kinds of debt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before you know it, you're way over your head, and then
Yeah.
it's bad. And
Yeah.
I guess some people even go to jail because they can't pay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's Bible years ago that if they had something like that, then they would be punished too.
Mm-hmm.
According to the scripture, they would be punished, and even Jesus said, "Don't be a debtor or old people,
Yeah.
but always live according to your means."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Romans. There's a verse in Romans that says, "Oh, no one except love," or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember the verse exactly, but yeah. And then Proverbs talks about the borrower is slave to the lender.
Yeah.
And if you get in too much debt, you're just that becomes they set your priorities, right? Because now you get paid, but then it's already gone. It's like, well, I got to pay this, and I owe this, and so.
And it also can fringe on your health,
Mm-hmm.
because you get stressed, and you get, and your physical, mental health is affected by that debt. You know? And so you've seen people, they just become almost suicidal because they got so much debt they don't know what to do, and they don't make enough money to cover all that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a dangerous thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's definitely an emotional aspect to finances.
Yeah.
And what about the like food? What have you learned about food and eating? What do you eat?
Well, I love to eat, but as you get older, it's a little harder to take it off. When you work outside, like I did, physical.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very physical jobs that I did.
Yeah.
And then when I was doing in the ministry, full time in ministry, well, then that's a spiritual and mental, not so much physical.
Yeah.
But as you get in the different positions, and when you eat, if you're physically working, well, then that helps you.
Yeah.
But when you get like semi-retired or retired, and you still eat like you used to, then first thing you know, you may blow up.
Yeah.
And some people, like for yourself, and I have a brother-in-law that man could eat me under the table, like they say. He could eat 2 big plates of whatever we had, and it wouldn't bother him at all. He was the same for years and years and years. The same. His metabolism was such that that it didn't accumulate any fat. Where on my part, if I ate like he ate, well, I'd be 300 pounds. So it's important. It's important to eat cautiously and eat discreetly, so that you just you got to enjoy the food that you like to eat, and eat that food that's good for you, but don't go overboard, because then your body, if you're not working, if you're not physically doing stuff for it, so that you put that food goes out, because it's energy, and if you're not using any of that energy, well, the food's just going to pile up on you. And so that's it's something that it's important. I mean, we all have to eat, but you just got to be careful.
Are there any habits, food selections, food habits that you've changed as you gotten older? Like things you stay away from, or things that you eat more of now?
No, I think Over the years, it's been pretty much, I've always eaten the same.
Okay.
More on the Mexican style food,
Yeah.
tortillas, and we do. My wife makes real good tamales and real good enchiladas
Yeah.
and picadillo, and she
Nice.
makes all that stuff.
Yeah. Very cool.
So I don't have to worry about that, because I can eat. But now, as the two of us are just the two of us together, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't eat like big 3-4 course meals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A bowl of popcorn or a taco, and
Yeah.
that's plenty.
Yeah.
Because you're not, I'm not pushing myself out there. I'm not, expending a lot of energy. So
Yeah.
the food has to come down. Like as you get older, you don't.
Yeah.
And you'll know that when you get older. I mean, you still like to eat the same stuff, but then you gotta you don't need as much of it.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
That's what my dad told me.
Yeah,
He says I eat at least once a day, maybe twice.
yeah,
He said I don't eat like right now I eat 3 times a day.
yeah,
My dad's like, no, I eat when I get hungry.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just once a day.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and sometimes I can go all day and not eat, until I get home at evening, and
Yeah.
I'll have something light. But salads, I liked a lot of salads.
Oh, that's good.
But it's not like I was before, when you were younger,
Yeah.
had 2-3 meals a day or more, and in between, snacks in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Have you always liked salads?
Yeah, I always. My mom always used to make different salads, and,
Oh, cool.
and my wife makes real good salads too. So
Oh, nice.
eat a lot of salads, and watermelon. I love watermelon. All the fruits. I love all the fruits.
Oh, that's good.
And now as I get older, we eat more fruit and not a lot of cashews.
Oh, yeah.
I love cashews. They're real good too, and pecans.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the nuts and stuff.
That's
like
good.
that. Yeah, so. It's just, I think guys has to, but now they say that, you got to kind of stay away from too much sugar isn't good for you neither as you get older.
Yeah.
Like all the sodas and stuff like that, they have,
Yeah.
almost 100% sugar in the whole thing,
That's
so
a lot.
and if you get too many of those, then a big bowl of ice cream at night,
Yeah.
it's not going to go anywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just going to pile up on you, so.
Mhm.
So you got to be careful of that too.
Yeah.
So, and as you get older, like the doctor says, and I said, "How come I got all these aches and pains?" He said, "Well, that's just normal aging.
Yeah.
You're normal. Body starts to age, and you got a little more aches and pains,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't eat like you used to. And so, that's important.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't, eat like I used to because I'm not, working, really hard and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
something light is plenty, Now in the morning, sometimes I'll just have like a half a bowl of cereal,
Yeah.
a little blueberries on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's plenty for the whole day. So.
Yeah. What about sleep? I know my dad has mentioned that he doesn't sleep as long as he used to, and you say you wake up 5:36.
Yeah.
What time are you going to bed?
Yeah, usually, we stay up till like 11, sometimes 12.
Really?
Yeah, we don't, we don't go to bed too early.
Yeah.
But there's always stuff to do at the house, so I'm
Yeah.
always busy. So
Okay.
before you know it, it's already 10, it's already 11.
Yeah.
And if we watch the news at 10 or 11, then usually it's on for an hour. So then before you know it, it's already midnight.
Yeah.
And so I usually get 4 or 5 hours sleep.
Yeah.
I don't sleep a whole lot,
Yeah.
and I'm okay.
You take naps during the day? Do you take naps during the day?
No, I've never
really?
been able to.
Really?
My wife does, but I
Yeah.
can't. I tried that, and I try and lay down
Yeah.
and just there, staring up the ceiling. I say, "Well, I gotta get up."
Yeah.
So I never was a nap person.
Yeah.
Unless I was, if I worked all night or something, then yeah. But during the day, I don't nap at all. My wife, she likes that. She can nap.
Yeah.
but I'm good. 4 or 5 hours sleep, 6 hours.
Really?
That's plenty. Yeah,
Wow, interesting.
yeah. But as you do get older, you don't sleep as much,
Okay.
and that's all part of of aging, I guess, too.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes some guys, older guys, they go to bed way early. I
Yeah.
remember my dad when he worked. He'd go to bed and 8, 9 o'clock, and we'd be watching TV, and he'd get up and he said, "What are you guys doing up in the middle of the night?" So, Dad, I said, "It's only 8 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock." I said, and he'd already he went to go to bed at 6, 7.
Yeah.
So he got up early too. He had to be at work right away in the
Yeah.
morning. He had to be at work by 6, so
Yeah.
he had to get some sleep in.
Mm-hmm.
And but as you do get older, your body doesn't require as much. I think,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least as far as for me, that I don't sleep, 8, 9, 10 hours,
Yeah.
and I've never done that.
Yeah. Interesting.
But as you get older, you don't need as much, and some people, I guess, everybody's different.
Yeah.
So some people need more, and others less. So and I guess it all depends on your makeup, for
Yeah.
your body makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
if you're heavy, well, then a lot of times, I don't know, people sleep more when they're heavy, or when you're thin on the thin side, you don't sleep as much, or you don't need as much.
Yeah.
So I guess you'll have to do a study on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll do some research.
Yeah, there you go. You had to do another research on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to learn. So one of the things that I learned in my research is that not everyone retires when they want to retire. Like some people retire because physically they're unable to keep working.
Right.
Other people retire because they have to take care of, a spouse or, an aging parent.
Right. Yeah.
People think like, oh, I'm going to work till I'm 65 and then, save up all this money.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work out that way.
No.
And so, what about, I want to talk about relationships, like friendships. Do you have friends that are also retired that you try to keep in touch with? Or is it mostly just you and your wife? What does that look like?
No, we have friends that we've known all our life, and like I mentioned, this last weekend we were in Michigan for a friend of mine that we grew up together back in Saginaw, back in the day, and he was 81,
Oh, okay.
and he was also a hardworking guy. But
Yeah.
we've known him. I've known him kind of all my life, right? So, and then other people that I've known, we've known them all our lives, and some of them, there was like in our by the college that I went to, there was 4 of us that were in that year. There was 4 of us that were into the ministerial license program, and so out of the 4, now there's only 2 left, me and one of the other guys. The other ones are all passed away already. So but in between, we always try to always have our friends that we have for years and years, and we've known them forever. We had back when we lived in Saginaw, I was still a teenager yet, but our neighbor that was kind of 2 houses from us, they were also part of the church, and so they had one boy and I think 3 girls. And so the young guy that he would come around and play around the house, and he always liked to fight with all the kids around the neighborhood. Now I would tell him, "Go home, fight in your own yard," and I chase him out. But now he's a grown man with he's a grandpa as well, and so we see him all the time. It's just a joy to be around him, and he also back in the day he wasn't a Christian at all, and he was a believer. But over the years, he finally surrendered, and so it's even a better relationship because we share the same concepts and the values and stuff, and so every time we see each other, it's just we have always a great time, and I always remember. Do you remember this? I said, yeah, I remember that, and
Yeah.
so we always, always try to keep in touch with all the folks that we've met over the years.
Yeah.
We've known so many people, and all the different places that we've been. We always have met, over the years. I don't know if we added them all up, it'd be thousands, I guess.
Yeah.
Thousands of people.
Yeah.
So we always have, and then relatives like here in Texas. I got a lot of cousins, a lot of cousins that on my mom's side.
Okay.
And my mama had 4 or 5 sisters.
Oh, nice.
And so then all of their kids, and so a lot of their kids, and most of them go to Cerralvo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Wants to go to Cerralvo Church.
Yeah.
And like Brother Vega, Paul Vega, that passed away just about 3 years ago or so.
Yeah.
We knew him when I was just a young guy, and then he was already married and come out of the service. But they attended our church back in Saginaw, so
really?
he kind of like raised me as well.
Yeah.
So we've known him, knew him all our lives too. So.
Yeah.
And so when we moved to Texas, well, it was just like a reunion, So we always try to keep in touch with all our friends, and all the people that we've met, So now this conference coming up in Utah, the church conference, and so a lot of the folks try to go to that, So we get to see a lot of the old time friends from different parts of the country. So it's important to have, that friendship. So, and a lot of them, most of them kind of like my age, well, then they're all retired as well. So, so we can always talk about, well, how many pills are you taking now? What kind of medication are you on, So that always becomes a topic. Let me show you my scar.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's something, that.
Yeah.
That we talk about, and then the grandkids, you pull out all the pictures. Look at it.
Yeah, that's good.
Show you my grandkids, and
Yeah.
So that's kind of always the topic, So
yeah,
it's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't wait to be a grandpa. They were asking my wife and I if we were gonna have any more kids. I was like, nope. I was like, it's my daughter's 14. I was like, she's next.
Yeah. They'll come,
Yeah.
Just if the earth stands long enough, you'll be able to be a grandpa too. Yeah. Absolutely.
Would you? So let me ask you a personal question. So with my kids, I tell them, you want them to do it right? But I tell them, if you want to have kids, like, don't wait too long. Don't wait till you're older. Like, have them young, right? Early 20s, I think, is a good time to have kids. What do you think about that advice?
Yeah, I think that everybody's different. Like the girls.
Yeah.
Some girls feel they just got to get married and have kids, and other girls, they want a career first, have some kind of training, and something happens, and I always think that's always a good part, a good suggestion to work on, because sometimes if it was like in the old days that you'd pick the woman for your son or the man for your daughter, today it's a little different. They even get married on the internet. I mean, they meet the person on the internet.
Yeah.
And oh man, it looks great. She looks great. And so first thing you know, then they're married. And I said, wow, man, how long you known her? Well, we just met on the internet. And I always try to tell young people, there's no rush. Take your time. Make sure that this person that you're going to marry is the right person. Because, like you said, well, if you get married in your 20s, well, that's all right. But you make sure you get the right person, because if it can be a terrible thing. when you got the wrong person,
Yeah.
and the wrong partner, and
Yeah.
and I, especially like in the ministry, when I remember different people that I've met over the years, and the one partner wasn't 100% with the other partner. And so, then especially on the wife's side, and he said, well, hey, could you help me with this? And said, no. And I said, well, no, hey, you wanted to be the minister. Now you be the minister. I'm not the minister, And they didn't really kind of give any help
We're
at
on
all,
the same page.
Yeah. And so I said, boy, it's good when you have your partner is with you, and then work together for the cause of the work of the church.
Yeah.
And so especially in religious part of it, that the couples should be on the same
Yeah.
plane or the same page as far as
Yeah.
religion
I
goes.
think it's important to have
Yes, that's
same
very,
beliefs,
very,
same values.
very, very important.
Yeah.
Because we have, the sons or the daughters marry the wrong guy, and then they've been brought up a whole different standard of ideas, and then you bring yours ideas in, so somebody's going to have to give one way or the other, and then so if the daughter gives into the son, well, then we lose the daughter, and we don't gain the son. But sometimes if the daughter is strong and they married a guy outside of the religious values, but they win him over, then we will have our daughter, plus we win someone. We bring that guy in, and then he becomes a great asset to the church and to the work, and then together, it's another good, solid family doing good for the Lord. And so I always tell the young people, whatever person you marry, I mean, it's up to you, but you make sure that they're have the kind of same values, the same concepts you have, and the same beliefs, so that it'll make life a little easier. Even with that, sometimes it's not. You have difficulties, So, and it's important, that you don't. I always say, you don't have to, get married right away. You get out of high school at 18, you want to get married at 19, and well, okay, if they're ready, because sometimes emotionally they're not, and sometimes the young guys aren't either. And like you said, financially, emotionally, spiritually, if they're not mature a little bit, then you're gonna have problems, difficulties. Not that you can't overcome, but it's just you start out, already with a little struggle already, going forward. So I always try to tell the young people, if you're able, find a career that you like, or find some kind of job that you like, and get a degree or have some training. So down the road, if something happens and you do get married, then, you can always fall back on that training and that degree, where you can earn money for the family. Where that, you just get married, they don't know how to cook, don't know how to do anything. And so everything comes out of a can, or it's frozen, and, man. And what happens if the fridge breaks, or you run out of electricity? What are you going to do? If you can't make a sandwich, or you can't even warm water, wow, man, So all that stuff, is important, and so they need to be aware of all that, and that falls back on the parents, because if the parents if they always do everything for their kids, and then try and don't show them, okay, now here, come here, I'm gonna show you how to do this, I'm gonna show you how to wash clothes, how to make
life skills, right?
Right, absolutely.
Cooking, cleaning, earning a living.
Because they say, why do I have to do it? Well, it's not that you have to do it. It's someday you might have to do it to teach your children. So how are you going to teach them if you never learn either? So it's all that, it's all important. It's all part of life and growing up, absolutely. So it's always important to have the right person, because you marry the wrong individual. It's bad, and I've seen that happen so many times. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what happened to so-and-so? Oh, no, they're divorced. I said, well, man, yeah. Just barely get started. And now for any little thing, you know, I didn't like how you brought that glass of water over here. So, you know, here,
Yeah.
you know, for any little thing, it's not
Yeah.
like, you know, the Bible says for better or worse, or,
Yeah.
you know,
Till
once you're
death do us part.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you, so there are people that believe in soulmates, right? And then there's people that believe in, you know, just, I guess, free will in that sense. Um, what, where do you fall on that? Are you more of like, my wife and I were meant to be together, or we chose each other?
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever been asked that
is
question.
that a trick question?
Well, I can tell you what I believe, and then you can kind of add, or
Yeah.
you can agree or disagree. I believe more in the choice, right? The soulmate thing, I think, is a little difficult, because what if you marry someone, right? You make the choice to marry someone that isn't your soulmate. Like, are you messing it up for the next person, right? I think, to me, it's a choice. Not just when you first get married, but, you know, day after day, year after year, you're you're choosing to love this person, right? Because, yeah, like you said, there are marriages that end in divorce. They choose to go their separate ways, right? But I think I'm more of the, we chose each other and continue to choose each other, right?
Right. I think you're partly right. And then also with the soul part, the mate,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
that also could enter in, because sometimes I always believe that if you're ready to get married, that you should ask God to help you, to find the right person for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always believed that that God will help you find the right person.
Yeah.
And I think when that happens, then uh, you God can bring that person in your kind of little world, and then first thing you know, hey, well, you know, and you begin to see each other as not as another person, but now somebody that you could live with for the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that all happens because when we ask God, okay, I think I'm ready to you know, get married. I think I'm ready to have a partner in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you ask God to help you, to provide someone for you. But then you have to choose, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is that part that you have to choose the right. Of course, you're not going to go and choose somebody that out there is, you know, spitting tobacco or chewing tobacco and smoking
Yeah.
and doing all kinds of stuff and likes to party all night and go dancing and, you know, boozing and stuff. Well, you're not going to marry somebody like that, even if they're like a model. You know, I mean, they're gorgeous or whatever. That doesn't mean nothing. You know.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you're not just going to marry somebody that just sits there in the corner and reads books all the time and does crocheting, you know, and it doesn't know about baseball or sports or fishing or nothing. Well, you know, there's got to be, you know, it's got to be like a little bit of everything in that person, so that you can have a good time together, a good relationship together. And so that part comes in where you choose.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that, you know, it could be that, like I'm reminded of the story of how when David was picked as the next king,
Mm-hmm.
and now I don't remember the dad's name now. What was his name? I forgot, boy. But he asked him, Samuel
Samuel.
asked, you know, bring all your boys,
Mm-hmm.
and so he brought all his sons, and they went all before Samuel, and then he said no, and then one guy was real good, and the other guy was a little short, and then it says the Bible says in different ones that they came up before Samuel, and God kept telling Samuel, no, that's not it, not it. So all of them went by, and he says, don't you have another son? He said, well, yeah, we got one more. He's out there watching the sheep. And so they said, well, bring him in. And that was the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he comes in, then God tells Samuel, that's him. That's the guy. And so then Samuel gets up and anoints him and stuff, So God had chose him to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that God still can do that for us, that when we really are serious about marrying the right person, we ask God, and give him the opportunity to bring that right person. I know sometimes people say, that's old stuff. But I think if we rely on God more than anything, on our own intuition, God will help us to pick and choose the right person, because even you still have to choose them. God doesn't say, knock at the door and here stands this lady and says, God told me I'm going to be your next wife. It doesn't work like that all the time. But at least, in your mind and in your heart, when God speaks, and you ask him to help you, I think there's both areas of that. There's the soulmate thing, plus you choose. You have that freedom, but then you also have the what's the word I want to use? The availability of God's Spirit working with you. The Holy Spirit working with you. And so together, with that, and also choosing the right person, even in your own mind, you already know that, I need somebody that can do this and do this. I had one of my professors at college always tells us about his marriage, and he had already made up a big long list of points that he wanted his wife to have. And so as he met different girls, different ladies, and he would check them out against. Yes. And so he said when he met his wife with this, and he started, going down the list, and he says she was right there, every one. So that was the one. And so that was the one that God had picked for him. And so it was, a beautiful marriage, a beautiful life together, And so I think that I always remember that because, I said, if I had that last years ago, I said, I don't know if I would have had, the wife I have today. But I'm very thankful for her because God has really touched her life, even back in the day, and she was converted and accepted Christ. And then the two of us worked together for the, the cause of and promoting the gospel and reaching out and going around singing and playing and, having a great time in the Lord. And there is, I think, in both factors, like you mentioned, I think that both of those have to work together to get the best end results,
Yeah, I think there is obviously there's free will in the way, who we choose. And then it's wise to seek counsel, right? You can ask, there's friends, there's your parents, there's, people that you can go to just praying about, if that's the right person.
Absolutely. That's right. Absolutely.
And then on the list thing, we should also strive to have our own, our own list. Like, am I meeting my future spouse's expectations, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Do what I say I believe, am I living that out? Am I respectful? Am I responsible? Am I, am I making the right choices? Being the person that someone is attracted to, right?
Right.
So there you go. But how did you meet your wife?
Well, I met her. Well, she says that we met at a church camp meeting back in Littleton, Colorado. The church used to have a conference in that same place for several years, and they'd always go to Littleton, Colorado. And so at that time, I think I was 20 some. I can't remember now, but she had come with some other folks, and she was like 13 or 14. And then I was already I'm 5 years older, so
Okay.
I was already older, and then drove and everything, and then I was going with this other girl, and she said that someone introduced me to her. She said, I said, oh, okay. I said, I don't remember that at all. But then her sister, her older sister, went to Midwest Bible College. They used to have a 2-year Bible program where that they would, share the Bible with the students, and they would have a kind of a better handle on the Bible and everything.
Mhm.
And I forget what they called it. But anyway, her sister was there, and she had taken that course, a 2-year Bible training course there. And then they lived in Ohio, and their mom said, that her and her dad couldn't go to that. That was in Missouri. And they said, we can't go to that. And they said, Joyce, you go, you go and be there, at least part of the family as a graduation, for her sister. And so her sister told us that she was coming in on a Greyhound bus. And so she asked me if we would go and get her. I said, yeah, we got the car. So it was her sister, me, and then 2 other guys that were also students there at the college. So we all went and to the bus depot, and I think it was in St. Joe, Missouri, I think, or Marysville, some other town closer. It wasn't right in the town where we had the college, but town was real small, and it didn't have any bus line there at all. I had to go to a different town. So we went there, and then that's when I met her, and then that was the first time I ever had seen her, and so, and it was kind of like that part in that movie where that Star Wars, where that evil guy, and then he throws his hands out and the sparks fly out of his fingers, and he says, "Feel my wrath," and and that's how I felt that when I saw her first, that sparks just were flying, and then just like. She was just gorgeous, Just a gorgeous lady.
Yeah.
She was a redhead back in the day.
Yeah, really.
Redhead, just beautiful girl. So, and that was it. I said, man. And then she had come for the graduation. So then, of course, then we got to know each other there. And then she even went back to college after I graduated. She went back to college at Midwest there for another year, and then after that, then our relationship began after that meeting there. But it wasn't just like right away, but over the time. And so then after that, then her brother was our pastor in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay.
Back in the day, his name was Alfred Walter. And then she came then to stay with him to visit. And so then that magnified everything, So we were right there. So then we met there, and then we fell in love, and that was it, So after that, then we got married in '68.
There you go.
Of April.
Awesome.
So we just had our anniversary just Monday.
57 years?
It was just Monday.
Okay.
21st.
Nice.
The 21st of April, yeah. So
yeah.
57 years together we've been.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're trying to.
There you go.
I said, well, Lord willing, we'll maybe make 60.
Yeah.
60 years together. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's really
so
cool.
of course, now over the years, her hair turned different colors. Now it's all natural. She never colored her hair ever.
Okay.
But it's just over the years, and it just kept getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and it got to be kind of a blonde, kind of a strawberry blonde, kind of like, and then it just went more platinum.
Yeah.
And people always say, "Wow, you color your hair." I said, "No, I don't." Never color her hair. So
there you go.
I've always thankful because I've always had that trophy wife. I would call her.
That's awesome. So how old is your oldest kid?
TC is, we've been married 57, so she's 56, 55, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the boys are all, this year, everybody, my youngest son turned 50. So
Okay.
they're all in their 50s now. Yeah. All the kids are in their 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that? How does the relationship with your kids change over time?
Yeah. It changes because then they become parents, right?
Yeah.
And so now they know what a parent has to go through
Mhm.
and what we went through when we raised them.
Yeah.
And so now we talk about when they were little and how that they did this and how that they did that.
Mhm.
And so it's always, they like to hear that because then, of course, they don't remember any of that. And so
Yeah.
now that they're parents, well, now they can see that,
Uh-huh.
wow, well, mom did like this or dad did like this. And so
Mhm.
it does have an effect on them, over the
Yeah.
years. And so then they can relate to some of the things that we relate to because
Yeah.
then now they're living that,
Mm.
they're the parent.
Yeah.
And now my daughter's a grandma already,
Yeah.
so she's a grandma. And so then now she's not just the mom, but she's a grandma. So now we're grandparents, and I'm a grandparent, and she's a grandparent.
Yeah.
See, not
That's
just my
so
daughter,
cool.
but now she's a grandma too.
Yeah.
So that's all
Wow.
part of growing up.
Your daughter's a
Yeah,
grandmother. Did you
yeah,
ever think you
yeah,
lived through that?
yeah. Well, no, like I said, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, but sometimes the kids get married, 18, 19,
Yeah.
and they're having kids already before they're 20.
Yeah.
And so the mom can be a grandma,
Mhm.
a lot sooner.
Yeah.
And so it depends on the kids. So when they get married, like you said, well, some kids, we have some families that, they get married and they'll be 5, 10 years before they even have any kids,
Yeah.
so it
Mhm.
takes them a little bit longer. And then, so the parents won't have any grandkids for, several years. Then on
Yeah.
the other hand, you got the kids that, right away that they, they have kids right away. So then it doesn't take long, and then they can be grandparents too. So,
Mhm.
but we've
Yeah.
always had a good relationship with our kids, and
That's
and
good.
we've always enjoyed them. And now
Yeah.
that they're parents and they got their boys and their families, so I said, no,
Yeah.
now you know what it's like.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Very cool. I want to ask you a couple of closing questions. Um, how do you define success?
Wow. I think, in my opinion,
Hmm.
success is uh, doing what you like to do and being happy about it,
Okay.
being content with
Hmm.
what you can do and what you have. And as far as I'm concerned, that to me is successful. I'm successful
Yeah.
because I've been through hard times. We've been through some difficult spots, but
Hmm.
overall, I've always still had plenty of food to eat. I had plenty of clothes to wear. Never had any, like I was scraping to find things to wear or
Yeah.
scraping to find food. Never had any of that problem.
It's
And
good.
I didn't have like wads of money in my pocket all the time, like
Mhm.
some of my friends that I know.
Yeah.
you know, one of my brothers, used to always, pull out a big wad and he said, "What's that 20 doing in there?" And throw that away. And I never had that. I never did that. But
Yeah.
I never once ever said, "Well, man, I'm just so poor."
Yeah.
And I think success is for me is to be able to uh, have enough food, have
Mhm.
gas for your car.
Yeah.
Even though you don't have $300-400 in your pocket, but you don't need to have that, and I
Mhm.
don't need to have $300-400 in my pocket.
Yeah.
But then if I want to, well, then I can go out and do odd jobs here and there and make a little bit, and then
Mhm.
have money that I wanted to buy something. But if I enjoy doing what I do, and I feel that I'm successful at it, I enjoy doing that, and I can help other people enjoy what I do, and so then to me that says success.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
What about growing up? What was told to you about work? What did your parents tell you about working, making a living?
But my dad always was punctual,
Hmm.
and then if we had to go somewhere, we'd get there early. He was always very punctual,
Yeah.
and he was always a very hard worker.
Okay.
And so I learned from my dad that punctuality is important,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to work for people. You got to show up and work. And also, I remember that a lot of times he worked after when we got I was born in Saginaw, and then the reason I was born there, my sister, was that my older brother got sick, and then my folks used to come up to from Texas, come up to the Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, in that area to do field work because they're migrant workers.
Okay.
Every summer they'd come up from Texas.
Yeah.
And so that one year my brother got sick and they had to put him in the hospital, and he was very sick. He almost died. And so then they had to stay. And so then when they stayed, then my dad got a job at General Motors.
Oh.
And so then that's when I was born in Saginaw, and my sister. But had my brother not gotten sick, then we probably would have been born in Texas if that were we were going to be born.
Okay.
But then, and so I remember he was very punctual, and even though he was sick, and I tell my dad, "You can't go to work today." He said, "No, I got to go to work." He always felt like if he didn't go to work, that they'd get somebody else in his place, and then he'd come back, and then he wouldn't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
I said, "No, they don't do that." Oh, Dad. And then also my mom was a very hard worker too. And then during the summer, after school, during the summer, we'd go out in the field and we'd hoe, with a hoe, like the weeds and stuff in different plants. And we'd get whole fields that were like a mile long.
Wow.
And then we'd go from start and we'd hoe all the way down and back, and it was lunchtime.
Oh, wow.
And then we go all the way down and back, and then it was supper, So we did that. And so I remember that, she always was, and she was a hard worker. And so I try to keep up with her. And so, I had to go because she had the experience, she had done that. And when she grew up as a young girl, then, they had to wash clothes by hand and do all that stuff before they had any of the washing machines and all that stuff,
Yeah.
So she was also a very hard worker. And so I remember that was I think my thing that I always, even today, that if you got to be somewhere, you're punctual, especially in the construction business.
Yeah.
And I did remodeling for a while. And so, if I tell somebody I'll be at your house at such and such a time, you want to start the job, I was there, and sometimes I noticed the other guys, they'd say, well, we'll be there at 9:00. And, at 10:45 here, they finally show up, And so I said, that to me, that speaks a negligence, that speaks, and if they can't make it, at least call the people, say, hey, I got a flat tire on my truck or something, and I'll be there as soon as I can. But, if you never say anything and you just show up when you show up, and then that, to me, that's I never was raised that way.
Yeah, that's good.
So I try to tell my kids, you got to, if you're going to work, you got to be punctual and try not to get sick and show up every day, and then when they start handing jobs out to different people, I says, go get one because they can depend on you.
Yeah.
And they know that you're going to show up, and you're going to be there for the whole time, and you're going to do the job. Yeah. And so I think that if more people did that, we'd have a better economy all the way around. And I thank my Heavenly Father for my parents because they were showed all of that, and I try to instill that in my kids, And I think they all did a good job. I think they're all doing a good job. They always always have work.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So
I
give
like that.
God the praise for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So be punctual, be dependable, and work hard.
Absolutely.
That's a
And don't
good.
complain. And don't complain.
Don't complain. I like that. Yeah, be grateful, right? There's people
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
would love to be in your position, would love to have the job that, you're able to have. And you're contributing, right? You're helping someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any closing advice? Anything for us that are still working?
I guess the only advice is that rely on your skills. Do the best you can, whatever job you're presented with. Sometimes you get jobs that, well, I can't do this. It's just kind of way below me. I'm better than this, And so we said, no, I'm not doing that job. Give me something better. I said, well, I always do the job, and if you do the job and you are good at it, they'll move you up, People will notice that, and they'll give you a chance to do better and do harder work and more intricate work because they know that you can handle it. And I always say, that's what you got to do. And again, show up on time and not complain. And I think that and if you don't know the job, because I've had people work for me and I've asked them, okay, I want you to do this and I want you to do this. Do you know how to do it? Oh, yeah, I can do it. I said, okay, I said, I'm going to go over here and I got other stuff to do. I'll come back.
Yeah.
So I come back and they haven't done a thing because they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I asked them, if you don't know, you tell me and I'll tell you, I'll show you. No, I know how to do it. And so you can't. If someone says, I want you to do this and say, well, I don't know how to do that. Okay, well, then I'll show you how to do it. You got to be honest too. So that
it's okay to say, I don't know how to do
it's
something.
okay to say that. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I've never done that.
Yeah.
And so when, and I've had people work for me and I asked them, no, I said, no, don't tell me you don't know or if you don't know. I said, it's okay. Just tell me, and then I can help you, and I can show you how to do it and how I want you to do it. And so that's, and also I've also learned that you got to give people a benefit of the doubt, and can't fire people right away. You got to give them a chance 2-3 times, and you say, okay, tomorrow we're going to start at this time, so try and make it, and so if they don't show up, and then. Okay, maybe something else happened. Okay, so hey, you want one more time or 2 more times, and if they are consistent in that, well then, hey, if you don't want to work, or just tell them you don't want to work. You can't just show up here whenever you feel like it. And so that's something else too that I think is important. And so and the main thing is my main thing is to rely on God and the teachings of the Word, and read the Word every day if you possibly can, and have time to immerse yourself in the Spirit of God, in the Word of God, so that and you always got to be reminded that you're not working for that person. The Bible says that whatever your hand finds it to do it as unto the Lord. It's not just for that person. But you're doing it as unto the Lord, And so when you do that, it doesn't have to be that the boss is standing behind you watching you, or they're over there on the camera watching you. That shouldn't enter in at all. You're working, and this is the job I got to do, and so I'm doing it. And I'm not worried about who's watching me because I know God's watching me. And so that's why the Bible, and I've always tried to tell my kids, you got to work for God, because it's not just you're working for that person, but God gave you that job, and through that individual, He gave you that job, and so then you got to give God back the praise and work for that in that way. And I've seen that happen a lot of times. That people are just sitting around, and then you come in and I put on that white hard hat and I get a clipboard, and right away, man, everybody scatters, and they're jumping up and. They don't know.
Boss is coming.
Yeah, they don't know I'm not the boss, but I just happen to have that white hard hat and the clipboard.
Yeah.
And so right away, but if as soon as you walk away, then they go back to where they were doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
all of that, I mean, you have to be live your life for the Lord, whatever it is, give God praise whenever you have an opportunity, and I think God will bless you each and every time. God will be with you and help you and strengthen you. And I think that young couples, especially, it's not sometimes the couples get to where that it's kind of like, well, you did this the other weekend, so no, I got this weekend, and I'm doing, and then it's kind of like competition. It's not. It's not a competition. It's a life together. And so that's sometimes, and then you get, well, you had more fun than I did, so no, I'm going to do this, and that's kind of the wrong mentality. And if we don't stay together and in the realm of God's will, then you run into problems. So my advice is, stay true to God, and then God will stay true to you. Absolutely. Thank you.
I like that. There you go. That's good. Well, I appreciate you coming on and, sharing the wisdom, the 82 years of wisdom.
Well, a little bit.
I'm sure there's a lot more of it.
What little bit I have,
Yeah. No, it's good. It's important to, think ahead. And then, thank you for sharing your point of view, your experience, right? I think it all helps. I learned a lot today.
All right.
And so I appreciate you coming on. And
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for tuning into My Line of Work. I hope today's video inspired you to find the work you love. If there is a career you're curious about, drop it in the comments below. We would love to feature it. Hasta la próxima. Cool. Thank you.